The next LOS is the calculating the holding period return. What is a holding period return? Okay, so as the name implies, that holding period return holding period return. So what is holding period return? Short form HPR. That is a return that you will be getting in a holding period. Okay. Please note that here the return is not compounded on a per annum. It's not a per annum basis. It is for that period. It is for that period. The period can be 1 day, 1 second, 1 millisecond, or it can be 1 month, 1 quarter, 1 year, 10 years, 100 years, whatever your expectation is. So the holding period is, you are not specifying what is, you have to specify what is the holding period. So here the formula can have any number of years as the holding period. The formula for holding period return is pretty simple. It is P1 plus, or rather than that, what I would do is P1 minus D, P1 minus P0 plus D divided by P0. So here P1 is the price, final price. So P1 is the final price or the end period price. So this is the price at the end period. So it is the end period price. P0 is the initial price. P0 is the initial price, and D is the dividend that you are getting. So P1 minus P0 plus D is the divided by P0 is the holding period return. So P1 is end period price, P0 initial period price, D is the dividend, and divided by P0, that is the initial period price. So dividend is a cash flow. Okay, so if you see this component, P1 minus P0 component is what? It's a capital gain component. It's a capital gain component. D is a dividend. It's a dividend, or it is a income that you are getting. So capital gain component and a dividend component that you have, P1 minus P0, D. And so what happens is holding period return is very important. So if your investment is divided into multiple periods, what we do is we break that down into individual period and compute the holding period returns of each of these. Okay, now this division is usually made considering when your cash is invested. So depending on that, we'll be considering. So let's try to get the actual feel of a HPR. Suppose you invested $100 in a stock, and after 1 year it became $110, and it also gave a dividend of $2. Okay, this dividend $2 is assumed at the end of the period. So you are assuming at the end of the period that you are getting $2. Okay, so at the end of the period you have got assuming $2. So the total amount, it becomes 112. Okay, so what we can do is HPR that we are computing is $110 minus $100 plus $2 divided by $100. So that will be your holding period return. 110 is P1, 100 is P0, 2 is this, so it is becoming 12% is your holding period return. Okay, here I have not specified that period. This period can be anything. So let's say it's 1 year. So in 1 year you have generated 12% return. That is the idea. Making sense? Okay. Okay. Now let's see the next LOS. So this holding period return, they are asking us to compute. We'll see like for the treasury bill what happens, how you compute it later. Then they are saying that calculate and interpret money weighted return and time weighted return. So, and this is a topic where students they get confused. I will say that do not get confused much about this. Okay. Now here we are interested in computation of time weighted return and money weighted return. So if you consider the time weighted return is nothing but it is a geometric mean return. So it's a mean return, but it's a geometric mean return. And money weighted return is nothing but whatever we have just covered, it is IRR. So money weighted return is IRR, time weighted return is geometric mean return. So as an example, just take that. Suppose you invested $100 in a stock today. Okay, and after let's say 1 year, so let's say we will mention this as t equal to 0, this is t equal to 1. after 1 year what is happening is you are again investing in that same stock. Okay, but in this 1 year, in this time frame of 1 year, what could have happened is the stock price would have increased. Let's say the price has increased by 10%. So the price has increased by 10%. So from 100 it has become 110. So at t equal to 0, you bought one stock, you invested $100 in that, and t equal to 1 also you are interested in investing in one stock, but because the price has increased by 10%, here the price has become 110. So it requires you to make an investment of 110. So since your money is going out, we'll write this 110. Okay, assuming that you are not getting any dividend, so this is a non-dividend paying stock, and then 1 year has passed. Okay, and after 1 year the stock prices, what you are seeing is $130. The stock prices are $130. So you are saying that, oh wow, I have generated a lot of return in these 2 years. I want to make money, I want to realize the profit. What you will do is you will sell these shares at t equal to 2. At t equal to 2, you will be selling these 2 shares. How much money you will be receiving? You will be receiving $130 into 2, which is $260. Okay. Now I am interested in knowing how much is the average return that you have produced. So you have produced over here is 100 to 110, 10% return. From 110 to 130, if you see, the return is around how much? 18, roughly 18%. Right? So what is the average return over the 2 years? So 2 years return is much, but what is the average return? How you will compute? So there are it comes out that there are 2 measures that are being used. One is the time weighted, another is a money weighted return. So for money weighted return, we have to go back to our calculator. So let's try to first find out the money weighted return. Okay, in case of money weighted return, as you know that you have to identify the cash flows. You have to identify these cash flows. How will we identifying? So first, CF0 is the initial investment. CF0 is the investment at t equal to 0, which is minus 100. Then C01 is the cash flow, is the investment at t equal to 1, which is 110. Then C02 is the money or investment that you have at the 2 equal to 2, but here it turns out that you have got the money, you have not invested, so you have got $260. So you'll plug this and you will compute IRR from your calculator. Let us try to find out how do we compute. So this is cash flow, but we have other items. Please note that you have to clear this earlier work. So what you do is you press this button second, and then after that this clear work. So it will ensure that whatever value you had stored, it is gone now. So we'll put 100 negative, so we have to press this minus sign, press enter, press down button. C01 110, sorry, 110, press minus, press enter. Frequency is 1, C02 is 260, press 1, and then we will just press this IRR and press this compute. So it turns out that the IRR that is being coming is 15.37. So the rate that we have generated, the average rate is 15%. So 10 was first year, 18 was second. On an average, we have generated 15.37%. That is the money weighted return. Now let us try to compute the time weighted return. For time weighted return, the computation, it involves finding out the period. So what we say is whenever there is significant cash inflow or outflow, okay, mark that as a period. So whenever there is a significant cash inflow or outflow, mark that as a period. So here what happened is, here was 100, here was 110, and here it was 260. So this cash flow was significant. If you had, let's say, over here cash inflow of, let's say, -5, you could have avoided it because it is not significant, 5%. Okay, that depends, but typically we'll see like how the industry solve this problem. We'll see it. Okay, but whenever there's a significant cash inflow or outflow, you should be taking that as the period. So this is your first period, and this is your second period. So the first period and this is your second period, and how this is how you will be computing. So what is the return in the first period? So what is the return in the first period? As we have computed the P1 minus P0 plus D by P0. Please note that we are computing the holding period return. Why we are saying 110? Please note that because the stock price has increased from 100 to 110, even though you are not selling the stock, it is still giving you some return. So it is 110 minus 100, dividend was 0, 100, so this is 10%. The second period return is how much? The second period return is, should we take 260 minus 110 divided by 110 plus 0? No, because this 260, if you see, it is for two stocks. It is not a single stock, so we should not take 260, but rather than that we should take the price of one stock, which is 130. So it is how much? 20 divided by 110. Let us see in the calculator how it does. So we have to compute 20 divided by 110 comes to 18%. So 18.182. So this is 18.182%. So do not do like this. So we have to change this format. So second format, you can change the number of decimal places to 5, and then if you do 20 divided by 110, it will give you 18.182. That is how you should solve. Okay, now if I am interested in finding a time weighted return, time weighted return is a geometric mean return. Okay, so if you are interested in finding out the geometric mean of two numbers x1 and x2, what you do is you take the square root of these two. If you have three numbers x1, x2, x3, you take the cube root, but that is a geometric mean. But since the returns can be negative, what we do is we do not take the geometric mean like that. What we say is 1 plus geometric mean is equal to the nth root of 1 plus g1, sorry, 1 plus r1, 1 plus the return of first period, 1 plus return of second period, till return of nth period. So this is how we'll compute the geometric mean return. So rather than, because here we are saying that the returns can maximum be minus 100%, it cannot be below that, right? You cannot lose more than you are investing in normal stocks. In derivatives and all it happens, but in normal stocks it will not happen. So in that case, what will happen to our GM, the geometric mean? It is under root 1 plus first period was 10%, second period was 18%. So what we have is root of 1.1 into 1.18. So how it comes to? So you add 1 into 1.1, you take the square root, it comes as 1.14. so your 1 plus GM is equal to 1.14. so your GM will become 0.14. so your GM will become, if you are interested in percentage calculation, it is 14.01, 14.01754%. So this is your geometric mean, or this is nothing but your time weighted return. So the formula here I will write as, rather than 1 plus GM, what we can do is we will write 1 plus time weighted return is equal to all these things. So this is your time weighted return. So your money weighted return was how much? 15. Your time weighted return is 14. So does it mean always that IRR or money weighted return will be more? No, it is not the case. It depends on a scenario. So if you see over here, what happened the scenario? The first period we had returned 10%. Okay. Second period it was 18%. Okay. Your investment here was 100 only. Here you have become investment was 110, this plus 100, and which at this time is 2 times of this. So your investment was 220. When your investment was 100, you had generated 10%. So when your investment was low, you had generated a 10% return, which was also low. But when your investment increased, here your investment increased and your return also increased. So investment was low, return was low, but later period investment increased, return increased. Since the money weighted return, it is a money weighted, it is calculating on the money, So you had higher return and higher investment. That is the reason that money weighted return became more than time weighted return. So money weighted return will be more than time weighted return when it will happen? When you have more money, when your money increases and also your return increases. In that scenario, you will find that money weighted return is greater than time weighted return. Whereas money weighted return will be less than time weighted return. This will be the situation you will be seeing your money weighted return less than time weighted return when money is increasing but your return is decreasing. That will be the situation. So as an example over here, so instead of this 100 becoming 110, instead of becoming 130, let's say it becomes 120. Okay, so 100, 110, 120. So your CF0 was minus 100, CF1 was minus 110, CF2 was you were selling the stock at 120, two stocks, so plus 240. Let us try to compute the return. So CF minus 100 minus 110, but instead of this 260 we'll make it 240. Compute the IRR. It is 9.39%. So IRR, it comes as 9.39%. Okay. If I compute the time weighted return, so 1 plus time weighted return is equal to square root of 1 plus first year 10%, then second HPR. So what is the second HPR? We have to compute the HPR. We have to compute. So the P1 is 120. So we have to compute the HPR. HPR will be 120 minus 110 divided by 110. So it will be 120 minus 110 divided by 110. It is 9.09%. So this one is 9.09%. So just add 1 over here, multiply with 1.1, take the root minus 1 and multiply by 100. So you get 9.54. So your time weighted return is 9.54%. So this is 9.09. So if you do the calculation, time weighted return will become 9.54%. Now which is more? This is more or this is more? Now your time weighted return is more. So what happens is when your money is more, becoming more, so here the return was 10%, here the return was 9%, your return is decreasing. More money, return is lesser, your money weighted return will be worse than the time weighted return, and that is how we are seeing this through this computation also.